You have to start thinking about Jesus, what he did, why he did what he did, before you lose yourself in your own problems and your own emotions. Tell me how hard that is. Lord, I just really want to serve you today, and I want to focus on the gospel. And then you flip on Facebook, and you realize that you don't match up to anything that you're seeing. And you get discouraged. And you get sucked into your own not enoughness. And it distracts you, whether it's your situation, whether how you think of it. Could be you wake up and look in the mirror and you're like, oh Lord, what? I'm struggling with who I am. And let me tell you what, in order for Paul to be able to focus on the gospel, he had to not think about his circumstances. Try it sometime. It can be bad, I get it. You can be struggling, I get it. Paul, you think he was struggling a little? Just a little? Like, he does this crazy, like, in my mind, it's like, man, Paul, you're challenging me to set aside the things that I care about in order to be ready and prepared to share the gospel. I'm going to focus on that, not me. Take a break from yourself. I've told myself that this morning. I was like, man, JP, you need to take a break from yourself. Focus on me. Focus on Jesus, the gospel, focus on this. Do you know there are people that are dying and going to hell because nobody has shared the gospel with them? Do you know that? Do you know that? It might be your neighbor. And if you're like me, you're worried about which mower blades to put on your mower when you see your neighbor. Hey, buddy. Completely slips my mind. I'm focused on me. Look at I'm in chains. Oh my gosh. How am I going to do that? You know, I just don't know what I'm going to do. How am I going to deal with it? Paul did not do that. Paul focused on, this is what God has me right now. This is what he has me doing. This is where he has me chained up, right? That's what he says in Corinthians. All this stuff has happened to me, but it's happened for the furtherance of the gospel. And the reason Paul could be so focused was because he was not thinking of himself. Now listen, okay, I know some of you. Does that mean that I'm saying to you, JP, you shouldn't be healthy, your mind shouldn't, of course not. I'm not saying that. You need to be healthy in your mind and your spirit, physically. Like, yes. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when problems come, if we focus on those problems, that's all we'll be able to think about. If we then, instead, like Paul did, view those problems as an opportunity for God to work, it totally shifts your focus. And the power of the problem doesn't have any power over you anymore. Is it still there? Well, yeah. Yeah. Paul was still in jail. After he preached the gospel, it ain't like, oh, Paul, we love your message. We're just going to let you go. It didn't happen that way. We almost have to change, no, not almost. We have to change our thinking. How we think. Am I telling you, oh, if you have a problem, don't worry about it, don't solve it? No, that's not what I'm saying. Oh, if I have a problem, JP says I don't have to think about it, I don't have to deal with it. So, my tax bill, sorry, IRS, I'm not going to pay that. JP told me to focus on Jesus. And you write them a letter, IRS, I'm focusing on Jesus, thank you very much. No, come on. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking every day. You go into school, right? You're in middle school, you're in high school, and you come to church and you love Jesus, but there's this problem in your mind because you don't think you fit in. You just don't fit in. They make fun of me and they bully me. Okay, that's a problem that needs to be addressed. But if you begin to look at those things as, okay, God, what do you have in this for me? And how can you use it for your honor and your glory to spread the gospel? How can you do that? Does that mean the problem shouldn't be addressed? Of course not. Paul wanted to get out of jail. I'm praying that the Spirit of God and the believers pray for me that I'll make to my release. Yeah, of course. But his focus was not on himself. Listen, I'm telling you, don't get sucked in by the culture. That's what they're going to tell you. You're number one. Worry about number one. If you're going up the ladder, step on everybody's hands and kick them in the face. That's what they'll tell you. Worry about you. I'll get my own. I'll do mine. No. That's different than what Paul is saying here. 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 7. Let me read this. These trials will show that your faith is genuine. It is being tested as fire tests and purifies gold. Through your faith is far more precious, though your faith is far more precious than mere gold. So when your faith remains strong through many trials, it will bring you much praise and glory and honor on the day when Jesus Christ is revealed to the whole world. Did you know that how you handle problems can either take away glory from God or give it to Him? Well, I just need to think about myself. I think we've got that covered. We've done that enough. We're good. I think we've covered that. We're kind of imbalanced, aren't we? Now, you could go the opposite direction. Poor me. I just, doesn't God love me? He's bringing this in my life and I can't handle it. I just don't know what to do. You could stay there and you'll stay there for a while until you decide to say, I'm not going to focus on that. Is it real? And should it be dealt with? Absolutely. Can God deal with it? Absolutely. His Spirit and prayer. But I'm going to focus on Him. Okay, so I have something for you this morning. It's called a Mind Shift Challenge. I want to give you something to do this week, as if you don't have anything else to do. A Mind Shift Challenge. In other words, practice changing your mind. Paul sees, let's read here. Paul sees the many hardship of his life as a good thing. We could stop there. We could stop there, couldn't we? Because we don't view hardships as a good thing. We view hardships, and some of you may have grabbed onto this thinking, God doesn't love me and He's going to strike me down. That is so far from the truth, it's not even funny. Does He allow things to mature you so you glorify Him? Absolutely. Does He not is it because He doesn't love you? Of course not. Why would He send His Son? Of course not. So we have to shift our minds. Well, if I do that, I remember what I did before and God is going to strike me down. No. So this idea of hardships and changing your mind to think of them as not hardships, but opportunity to allow God to do something in you. I can tell you, I've done both. I've complained about hardships and whined like a sissy little baby. Lord, poor me. And guess what? I was just miserable. Lord, why aren't you doing anything? Still miserable. Other times, I looked at opportunities and said, you know what? I'm not going to let that get me down. I am not going to let that get me sidetracked from Jesus and what He's doing. And, okay, commercial. Trust me, it happens here too, and we're not going to get sidetracked by something the devil might use to get us off track. We're going to stay focused. We're not going to whine and complain about maybe the tough things that God brings. We're going to focus on Jesus. But Paul sees as many hardships in this life as a good thing. For one reason, they have led to the spread of the gospel. So here's your challenge. You ready? Look at this. Can we begin to see our hardships as an opportunity for God to use us? Ooh. Thanks, JP. We're going to another church next week, Like, this is where the rubber meets the road for Christianity. You will suffer hardships in the Christian life. But the gain and the hope you get because of Christ is so much greater than the hardship. So I want you to practice this week. Just a little. Just try. One time maybe. Something comes your way. Somebody complains to you or doesn't like what you do. Or better yet, they talk about you. Guess what you say? You can talk about me all you want, but include my name with Jesus while you're talking, please. I'm not going to allow you to make me focus on me. I'm going to look at this as an opportunity to give God honor and God glory. Living your life in a way that bears His image, right? And it glorifies Him. Newsflash, caution. This will not be easy. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. But I believe you can do it. Why? You have God's Spirit in you, number one. Number two, I'm already praying for you, and so are others. Come on, you can do this thing. Be bold, be confident that He who began a good work in you is going to continue to do that until He comes again. Amen? He can do it for you. When I read this, I thought, wow, what a challenge to me. I mean, basically, this is more of a challenge to me. I was just kind of sharing what God was talking to me about with you. But really, it's a challenge to the church. It's a challenge to the church that when tough time comes and trials come and things come that distract us, can we change our minds and think, that's not a problem, it's an opportunity. Now, does the problem need to be dealt with? Yes. But I'm going to use it as an opportunity to live my life that honors God. It's not easy, but here's what I know. If you're a believer here this morning and you've trusted Christ as your Savior, you have the power of the Spirit within you, and He doesn't give you a power, He doesn't give you fear or being timid, but He gives you power to have a sound mind and to be able to speak clearly and to be able to share your faith.